Well, welcome everybody to the third Artist Focus. I believe this is the fifth season of the Artist Focus. I am Ieke Trinks, and today I will be facilitating the Artist Focus. And here with me is B. Ajay Sharma from Chandigarh, India. And it's such a pleasure, B. Ajay, that I have you as our guest today. So welcome. Um, what time is it at your place?
It's almost 9:50.
Mm-hmm. Right. So nice
9:59.
evening. Night.
Yeah.
Yes. So to give a little bit of a context, I just got to know BIJ very recently. I've started to look into performance art initiatives in India. And I stumbled upon In Process, and I reached out. And In Process is a group of artists, and among them is BIJ. He's one of the initiators, and it is an artist who meet and perform together in outdoor public spaces. And we will talk about this more later also. In this short period of time, I also got to know a lot about your work, PIJ. I noticed you are really a multidisciplinary artist. You're trained as a painter and you're doing drawing. I saw installation in your work where everything is mixed into it as well, and performance, drawing, painting. I also saw ceramics, animation, and then you are an initiator as well. You collaborate, and I think you also curate events. And you have presented your work in South Asian countries and also in Europe and in the USA. Um, and yeah, what I also saw in your work is that you focus very much on spaces. I think what the history of the spaces are, and also the social political environments are important to you. And but what we're going to focus on is your outdoor performance practice, and also not only as performer, but also I think as a curator or a collaborator. Um, that's what I wanted to say as your introduction, and let's get started. I'm just going to call you Ajay, or do I call you B Ajay? What do you prefer? Oh, I don't hear you. We miss your voice. We need to
I
turn on your
think you
microphone.
just
Yeah.
go with the Ajay or BJ.
Okay, it's both. Okay, we I can change it
The
now and then.
most simplest thing you can just pronounce. That is the best.
All right.
Yeah.
So, what do you want? Shall we start with the video, or do you want to say something that, because I introduced you, but maybe I was saying things that were not correct or that is missing out?
No, it's thank you. Like
Mhm.
I just wanted to thank the the platform, like to give the opportunity to speak and share some idea. And I think I went through this platform, and it's really very much, the diverse practices you bring it, especially on the public space, site specific, and the focusing on the public space. And this is the point I think we connected with
Right.
each other also. And out of sight Chicago is a really very amazing group of, the conversations, you bringing up here in a large this is also the public space, but it's a media public space kind of thing. So I
Mhm.
really want, like from my side, I really wanted to thank you, both of you, to doing this a lot of work. It's need, the lot of things to decide in your daily life. And let's go. Like we can discuss a lot. and this is really good to having me here to share some idea how this we as a Indian or South Asian, how we are practicing, and what is the the core ideology, how it is working, and what kind of practices we are the sharing with other part of the world. And
Mhm.
it is really good opportunity to bring out some work, so we
Right.
can
Yeah.
we can go through the process we follow in this talk.
Right. Shall we start with a video
Yeah,
now?
yeah.
Let's
Yes.
and we will start the one the collaborative work, right? The in process with Sector 26.
Yes, yes,
So we
yes.
start in Chandigarh in India. Would you like to say something, or shall we just run the video and after you can
I
say things
think
about it?
it will be good, like before saying something, I think public can have some interaction, how we are working, because there will be if some question, then we can interact also. And while we think we have to really need to speak out, then we can go. The briefly I just introduce the like I am working as an artist in a very different, the different kind of job. So one is like curating and doing this in process thing, and then the my personal and collective work. So this work is from in process, because there is one curatorial I am working on, which called the place where we live. So basically defining the idea of place, what is the place is actually. So we can, when we see this work, we can understand the atmosphere and the what is the idea of a space, because this is the during the COVID, and then after the lockdown is finished, so you can see this transaction. We can go with the image
Mm.
and video.
Just let's start with the video.
Mm.
भाई वहाँ पे बंदा परेशान है वहाँ गरम पॉपकॉर्न खाइए 10 रुपए में, और बड़ा पैकिंग 20 रुपए में। सलमान भी खाता है, शाहरुख भी खाता है, आप भी खाइए गर्मा गर्म पॉपकॉर्न, नमकीन पॉपकॉर्न जो मंडी भी है नहीं जहाँ से भी लोग पेट वाले करते हैं। मंडी इतनी दूर बचा जी, बंदा रात में नहीं जा सकता, नहीं आ सकता वहाँ से। कोई बंदे चोर चक्के मिल जाते, कोई छुट्टी
17 रुपये का काम करो तो ये बस स्टैंड वाले साले बाहर रुकने नहीं देते, कहते मेरे कंटिन्यू ठेका देते। हम तो 20 साल से काम करते हैं।
20 साल से। और अभी क्या कर रहे हैं? बेले कुछ काम, बेले ही है, मतलब कोई काम नहीं है आपके पास?
मंडी की बात नहीं, इसमें नहीं बहुत बंदे परेशान है। पूरा ऑल इंडिया ये अपना काम बोले आ रहा, सारा इसी मंडी से रोजगार चल रहा था सबका। सबका वहाँ पे गया था एक दिन, वहाँ पे यहाँ से अंदर कॉलोनी से माल लेने गया था 4 बजे करीब में, 5 बजे से निकले गया था।
25,000 रुपये देते
25,000 रुपये थे, बंदों को मार गए यहाँ पे चौगनीन होगा, वहाँ बंदों को मारा था बहुत कुछ तरह, पैसे लेके छीन के आता भाई करके। बंदा नहीं दूर जाता है मंडी करने,
मर गया तो रेडी
और तो गरीब लोग रहा है इसमें।
रेड वाला भी मर गया, दो रेड वाला, एक रेड वाला घायल है।
होटल वगैरह चल रहे थे, कैंटीन चल रही थी, ज़्यादा मंडी कर चल रही थी, थोड़ा बहुत काम चल रहा था, मंडी का चल रहा था। किलो 50, 3 किलो 50।
So we are back. Well, Ajay, yeah, the first time I watched this documentation, because this is a work done by In Process, the collaboration, and maybe also good to mention is that you've been here participating together with Jihyoung Park. I hope I pronounced her name right. That was the woman with the spray. I think we cannot hear you, so your sound is still turned off. Let me see. If you
Yeah,
can
yeah,
yeah, there you're back. Yeah, great.
yeah.
So
Jihyoung Park.
say it again.
Jihyoung Park.
Yeah. Oh, Jihyoung Park. Yes, right. And it was very interesting because I didn't had the context so much. Like I thought this was a deserted space, and I wonder whose space this was, what kind of public space it was, and then you started telling me more about it. And so it would be nice, maybe you can share with us a bit why you chose this space particularly.
Yeah, so this particular the I title is the name of the place. Actually, there is a vegetable, fruit, and the grain market. So that is the one of the busiest part of the city, and this place deal like the consumption of the space like the food and grain and vegetables is there. The three city consume from that space actually. So like as according to the population you can think it's so much people in once we go and see in the crowded time you will like hardly get the space to step properly. So that much the place have a crowd. uh, and we did after the first lockdown, so it was there was a little bit relief for the general public. And when I see the first time that place, it all like the sometimes place invite you in a performance art actually. I follow the impulse to the how to communicate with the space. And space is so powerful material for me as a personally as in my in artist practice, and that's how I bring it into the in process as a curatorial work, which is we call I call place where we live. So actually, the place where we live is also talking about the idea of space, how change the according to time and event. No, so if we go in a Christmas time, you will see the light and the everything is so the ambience of a space is totally changed. So in during the lockdown, the government and restricted to go to the any kind of public place, and it was hardly open. And vegetable, fruits, and everything was shut down completely for all 8 months. And that was a very one of the biggest part of the city where the a lot of people, migrant people, even the city, the people from city, they survive with this their daily life and their wage and working labor fees and all. So once it's shut down, so there is so many people who get jobless. So in the beginning, uh, we went, me and Jihyoung went for a shopping something, and then we find like this space is completely empty, and I was completely like mesmerized with this, the emptiness. Actually, it was not emptiness as a feeling, as an artistic thing, but it was very deep and griefful. So it give you the grief and sorrowness, sadness.
Mm.
So I was actually very much, when I see that space, I feel with this kind of sorrowness and
Mm.
the sadness of
Mm.
uh, how place is converted totally. It's look
Yeah.
like the body, the body have the skeleton.
Yeah, it looks like a skeleton a bit, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, this
So
emptiness, yeah,
yeah, and
run
then
down.
you
Yeah.
giant, the that iron structures
Mm.
give you
Mm-hmm.
this kind of sense. So I shoot some sort at that moment, like just
Mm.
documenting the
Mm.
space, and because it was giving some impulse, the performance we when we do it, always like we have some
Mm.
sort of impulsive communication with object and space and
Mm. Mm.
either idea.
Right.
So
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
space.
Because
Mm.
I'm also curious about that. There's a couple of things I'm curious about. Also, in the beginning, there are a couple of men that you were I believe you were talking with these men,
Yes,
and
yes,
maybe also a question is I saw passing by is that some viewers are curious where this is. This is in Chandigarh. It's shot in
mm.
Chandigarh. The performance was in Chandigarh. That's more or less north of New Delhi, to give
Mhm.
an idea. And that's actually your hometown since a couple of years, right? So,
Yes, yes, yeah.
um, and so I'm curious about this conversation, the talking with the people there, and also like what you talked about in the beginning, but also your actions are interesting as well. That might be, yeah. Maybe you can say something about that, the choice of these actions, maybe the materials that you chose as well. But maybe start with the conversation or the what you talked about with the man.
So, so what happened? Like the when we, because it was complete lockdown, and the general public is not allowed to just roam around. Because it was restricted, and
Mm,
without any emergency, you can't go outside just for a roaming. And so I went there, and then I have that camera. So I started talking, like I thought I will do this something here, and immediately I wanted to do it. So I started talking with the people, and because I am migrant people here, so the language the people here speak, I can't speak. So you feel you are in a somewhere foreign land. So this kind of disassociation of the with space I have always, because
mm,
I am keep migrating as an idea of migration. Because in India also you have this the multilingual, we are the very multilingual country where the more than 26 language,
mm,
official language, and 132 dialects is more than 132 dialects is existing.
mm,
So when you go to the space, then the first thing you have to communicate with this people. And when I started communicating, I find they are all migrant from my the hometown where I born, or where I grew up,
mm,
or where I study my bachelor in UP or Bihar, and some part of the Bengal. So this language like really make you to have a conversation with them. And then I started like asking like how long you are here, and how long you are working in this particular profession, and what you are doing right now, how you are surviving, like what is your mode of
mm,
surviving, how
mm,
are getting, like how you are getting the money for the, so what is your family
mm,
condition. So they were basically talking like I am working for 20 year, 35 year, 15 year, 10 year, like that. And now like we don't have anything, like everything is gone, and we are like starving. And then the some person like complaining to the government, like they are saying to they will open this in a 5 day 10 day, but it almost 6 months it is not opening, and we are completely like the no job and
Yeah.
uh, nothing, and police comes to us and beat us because we are here. We don't
Mm.
have a space to go anywhere, and even we can't go other state. So that was the border also the closed.
Yeah.
So it give you the sense of the time actually,
Mm.
the
So
how time is
yeah,
powerful. Mm.
yeah. Just to continue also, uh, these they are actually like street vendors, right? Like they have
Yes,
their own
street vendor.
businesses, and it's like an open space. Anybody who has merchandise goes to that marketplace, and this one is specifically for vegetables, fruits.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so this space is particularly for the fruit,
Mhm.
vegetable, and grain. So grain market was the
Okay.
other side. So grain market is basically like lentil, rice, and all the seed kind of thing.
Hmm.
Fruit market is there. So obviously they have the system. They have the system which follow by the government rule and the government body and individual the farmer body, like this kind of
Mm.
system work
Mm.
with,
Mm.
because it is
So do
largely associated
yeah.
with the business. And
So the workers, the street vendors, they get their supplies and they kind of live in that place or close to that place as well. And then they were kind of stuck in the time of well, when the lockdown was there, they had no place to go, let's say, or they
Mhm.
could not sell their merchandise either. And in that in that more or less empty space, I did see a lot of things. I could hear the birds, I could hear the traffic, I could see some street dogs. There were also children, I believe.
Yeah, 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 small
and
thing.
uh, and then the two of you did your actions, and they were kind of repetitive, like a sort of a small gesture, or they're like quite simple, but I don't mean simple I mean simple in the nice way of it was not a grand like
Mhm.
spectacle in a way. So I'm kind of curious also about that. If you say you think about it's the impulse you bring, I guess you bring some materials with you, so maybe you have some impulses in advance, but you also work like in process is like improvisation, right? You don't know beforehand what you're going to do. You let yourself being inspired by the situation, by the place itself. So could you say something about that, the choice of the red cloth you have with you, for example?
Mm. It's very thank you for like asking this. This is important to locate the actually the focus on the performance. So yes, in we were two, like me and Jihyoung. So my working method is totally different than Jihyoung. Like Jihyoung is very organized in terms of doing performance, and very subtle and very the planned. She have some plan where I go with the impulse. Like I don't think like now these days I don't think after like this whole 2 year. I just go whatever it happened with the space, or how it space challenge my body and how I can challenge the space. And obviously there is the awareness of the what is the space is, what is the history of a space, and how space is important in terms of cultural, social, and political, and in the daily life livelihood also. So in particular that space, how what is the important of that space give you. uh, so I use that material because when I see this, the giant structure, and in that space we were very small, and I wanted to also visualize the space as a whole, not just as an object in my body.
Mm-hmm.
So we decided, like Jihyoung decided her material related to that space only, because she just brings some potato and some spray, and she was just spraying the potato for a whole time. And then we just and then I find like a red cloth, which is like, I just love it. So the red cloth is it give you the contrast with the space, and uh, also it stand itself, it is stand, and it give you the strong visual attraction. And I hold it as a material, because earlier I don't have any idea what will happen in that space. Might be we had idea we will do the durational work, like we will stand like more than 2 hour 3 hour, so that performance goes on 2 hour basically.
Mm-hmm.
So that for that duration, when we think about duration, then we have to the settle down and think the very minimal gesture what we can do with the space, and then action we have to also which follow the continuity and the repetitive. I like the idea of repetitions.
Mm-hmm.
So the sometime repetitions create a bigger image, the in space.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how the idea of repetitions is in my work, and I
Yeah.
use this kind of repetitive
Yeah.
idea. It's kind of chanting the mantra. I don't want to include this sense, but it is coming, it comes from
Mm.
that also.
Right.
To just a simple word, it can make a larger image out of it.
Mm-hmm.
And then I started uh, 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 look at to the material. I found it that space, so I call that the product of space. How the space give you the product, which you will find at that particular moment and time. Either
Mm-hmm.
you will not find it, either
Yeah.
it goes.
Ajay,
So hmm,
to interrupt you, also, I also want to that we can have a look at another video, and the time is running.
yes, yes,
But I think you made really clear what your choices have been with the materials and your repetitive action. And maybe what I also would like to add to it, I think when you do these, let's say, repetitive actions, you also let the space be the space.
yes.
It gives also for you yourself maybe um, like observe the space, but also for us looking at the video, there's for us space to understand where it is and what there is. And I think also particularly to go back to then these the time when the street vendors are back, it's very interesting because you also used jute, the bag over your head.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I think also when the people were back, you saw all these different fruits, and also you saw later on outside, you saw an old newspaper as wrapping materials, but also somebody who was knitting the jute. And I think there
Hmm.
was I found that a nice extra addition to bring the whole, like the performative thing is a small thing in the whole. But
Mhm.
shall we continue and go to the next video?
Yeah,
I guess would that be a good thing because otherwise we have not enough time, and that would be then we leave India and we go to other place because I think what we haven't mentioned also. I think for you, what is also a very important thing, why you do performance in the outdoor spaces, and maybe also to bring in more the context of South Asian performance art, and why you told me before what the importance is for artists to do that in public space. So maybe first go to watch the video, and maybe we can go to that. Is that an
Yeah,
idea?
it will be good to, because I think
Mhm.
that video give you the idea of other
Yeah,
space
yeah,
in terms of
right.
country and
Yeah.
language.
So we go to Sri Lanka, right?
Yes, yes.
Yeah. So let's go. Let's go there. So, Ajay, maybe you could say a bit what place it was, and maybe can you share a bit about the context?
Okay. So, like, it is really, this video come, one of my friend Fenia actually she documented and gave it to me. So I really thank you for that video. This particular work I did in Sri Lanka, and in Sri Lanka there is the performance art platform called Tirtha Performance Art Platform, and they were every year they do this performance platform. And Tirtha also somehow focusing on the outdoor and public spaces, and they are very much engaging that Colombo area. Now they are move on to the very the village side, but earlier they were in a very center of the Colombo, which is Borila Junction. So this was in the Borila Junction. So I invited for the performance participating on the texting being in 2019. Okay, so this performance actually, while I was going to Sri Lanka, I was very much aware about the history of Sri Lanka, how it is. It was the one of the country who have been most of the time in a war and crisis and political crisis also. Now is the great and economical and political crisis is also going on. So Sri Lanka as a history, we communicate like as an Indian, we know in a some mythological stories and all, but also as a part of history and civilization, it is very brutal truth we see as a war field. So also the one of the greatest irony is that the all the colonial country how they trying to capture their economical and they are draining their resources. So I was very much aware about this idea where I am going actually to perform. So in this for this performance I have not decided that place particularly, but I decided I designed the dress actually. So when you see there is a, so this was the durational performance. So this performance was 3.5 hours. I decided to do the 6 hour, but I couldn't do that. But it goes on 3.5 hours more than. And then so this was the first day, and then second day I was taking the print of the people from the Sri Lanka, and I am asking their memory of lost or the death or anything. They, so they were like giving with, so first of all, like I use the blood as a metaphor. It's not a, but also the blood is pure blood, not a color, because the when you see the blood, it give you the very the some feeling which is not very comfortable to deal with this. So so people were like, some people were very really hesitating with doing their handprints, and then they write some memory about their loss or death and how they lost their family or some people, or so it was a very good kind of, it become a literature. And then second third day I perform with this text, it become a poetry for me. And I bring them a lot of people, and I found one dead pigeon over there while I was performing 3 hours. So I found one dead pigeon, so I bring it for my performance. So this was the a large work, and I ask the people what is the. So I was writing all 3.5 hours. I was writing, keep writing the word in a Sinhala language. It's a Sri Lankan. They speak
Uh,
two
you
languages.
you speak about rice, I
Yes,
guess.
yes.
that you
Yes.
repeated, that you kept, because it
Repeat.
was kind of disappearing, and you were kind of rewriting it again.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
in what language?
It's a Sinhala language. So it's a Sri Lankan language. So
Right,
in Sri Lankan language, I am writing piece.
right.
So the title is kind of like, the how to explain peace to the dead pigeon. So so death, like I will talk more about like death, how it keep coming in my work, because it have certain experience and the work I am working. So that become one of the very prominent aspect in my work. So I use but now I use as a larger perspective. It's not only my personal perspective, but also the bring into the space where everyone connect with this idea. It's a very a brutal truth of the human life, or the life cycle.
In Sri Lanka, you talk
Yes, Sri
about the
Lanka also.
situation, political situation. Yeah.
Yeah, because it was the long time, the war situation. From almost 40, 60 years, they were in a war, like civil war actually.
Mhm.
So they have the Singali, the Buddhist, and they have the Tamilian, the Hindu. So they were
Mhm.
fighting together.
Yeah.
And this was the propagated, the conspiracy from the America and Britain, or the other European and Chinese, because that time, the 80s and 90s, they started intervening as a opening the market, as a we can say the business and
Yeah.
corporates, they started entering in the it terms called the globalization, but it is very uh, interestingly, they are how they wanted to capture this Sri Lanka, and then they wanted to enter other South Asian part. So it was very much conspiracy of the different part of the world, like this colonial countries, as well as they inflated this idea of religion always, as they do. So the Singhala and the Tamilian people were fighting for their
So, yeah,
hmm.
I hear my own repetition, but I hope that's not the listeners, the viewers also hear my voice 2 times. But Ajay, I was also curious when you were standing there for 3 hours holding the white cloth and like a canvas, or it's like almost like a letter or a testimony, and you had different languages on the cloth. And I was wondering, like, and so I understand your performance, there was a longer time over it, more days, but that particular one was on that square, that busy traffic square. I think it must be really in the city center area, I imagined it.
Yeah, yeah, it's one
Um,
of the biggest
very rush
Colombo.
hour kind of feeling I got. Yeah. And so did the people who came there, who participated, did they know they did it? Just was there some sort of instruction? Did you talk to them, or they just decided themselves what they would do?
So actually, I was not communicating with the people. Sometime I communicate, sometime I don't. So I decided to not communicate, and so there was the some following instructions, like uh, I do 2 3 instructions while I was performing over there. The first action I do, I keep writing the piece in Singhala language.
Mm-hmm.
One is disappear, I keep going and write with this almost 30 kg rice.
Yeah.
Uh, and once I was waiting for a pigeon to come and eat the rice, it's disappeared. Then I was holding the cloth for a long time, like just a kind of a statue. So in a square kind of feel, I just adapted this idea, just holding this white cloth. Uh, And after like long time, I just get tired, then I sit down and I started writing, and then again I was holding. So the what happened, like first some artists who were in a, they started interacting and coming, and then some people, common people also, they started and coming and interacting. So this was the 3-4 process. I was keep following them like one by one. It was like it's become also the very repetitive action over there, like because I was there as such a durational time.
Just one moment. I would also like to ask to the viewers if they have questions, please pop them in right now, because we are also coming slowly to the end. And there's already one question, but maybe we can, yeah, maybe let's. Is it okay, Ajay? Or is this something you would like to say more? Because or would you like to? Because I saw there's a question of
Mm-hmm.
John. Oh, I'm not sure if I pronounce his name right. Bomi. I'm not sure, but I see it's a question, and maybe let's see. I'm going to read it out loud. What significance does the written word and hegemonic use of English in particular have, Ajay? Do you understand the
Many
question?
use of English in particular have. Okay,
Maybe.
I the language always, I might be mislead, or might be I don't able to give the particular language, because as a migrant, for some time the Punjabi language become a big hegemony for me, because I'm not from here. So I don't find like the any particular language like English, or it's just a tool for communication. Yes, in terms of when we look at this colonial country, there is hegemony of language. There is the politics of language, and we can talk about, because it might be lead a very different conversation, rather than talking about the work of art or performance. Being as an artist, our language is body and action. So I don't fall into the particular the question. I think we should go to discuss more about the work, and importance of the work we are doing. And sometimes it doesn't matter to anyone, and sometimes it is matter a lot, because the art is the very soft power of the any kind of country, and any kind of political agenda, or any, especially the any kingdom, or any rulers, or any political person who start to the converse, change the idea of visual culture. And it is very important, because it's more it goes into our subconscious. So
Yeah.
mm,
Sorry. Also, time-wise, I think also just maybe you read it. John also added in a non-English speaking country, but you got that point as
mm,
well.
mm,
But I think also I also thought like, oh, English is from England, it's the US. But then I realized no, it's not the case. Actually, English is very much for everyone who wants to speak it. It's not necessarily um, owned by like say countries that colonized or and I think also the image when you don't use language, the image is for everybody. So
mm.
that's also the beauty of that.
The
And
universal language. Mm,
yeah, yeah, exactly. And maybe there might be some differences as well, which is also
Mm.
interesting to see. But I would like to go to the next question also, so that, because I saw there's another question from let me see, Klaus Nitzer Smith.
Yeah.
And thank you so much, Ajay, for these details and this in-depth insight. In reference to the first work video, I feel the white outfit in the situation would also relate to the fact that in-laws wear white when a family member died. Uh,
Yeah.
so I
It's
don't know. Yeah, yeah. I did, and then I feel that this is relevant to the pandemic times and the absence of the market situation.
yeah.
I don't.
Yeah.
Let me see. Yeah.
Yeah,
Let me,
I think you know that's why I call the irony of the place and the historicity of the place. You know, the market and the death, and in India it was you know the that time it was the some injections were sold out in at 100,000 rupees, like almost
mm,
100 $1,500 dollar. So it's very very difficult to talk. And a white in India we resemble with the death as well.
mm,
The particularly the when we wear the white in India, it is symbol of death also. So that's how, like, I forget to mention this because there is so many. Thank you
mm.
for bringing this idea.
Dagmar.
Yeah,
Dagmar. Sorry, that's the name. Thank you, Dagmar, for
yeah,
your
it's a Dagmar.
yeah,
Yeah,
remarks.
yeah. So see, thank you
And
for putting these questions,
yeah,
Dagmar.
yeah, Dagmar
Mm.
also mentions, and I also find it so important that the body repetition has an impact to the perspective of space. But that, I
Yeah,
think we also mentioned before, huh? That the space, when when you have this repetition, as my interpretation, then it gives so much. Maybe in the space itself, there's a lot of repetition itself when you look at the interior as well. But
mm.
yeah.
So I will just quickly go to the your earlier questions, like you asked me. I
Mhm.
think I
Right.
have
Yeah.
already,
We have few minutes left.
yeah, yeah. So I try to finish in a very
Yeah.
small.
Yeah. Because we're looking at some images in the meantime as well.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And even if you have any idea and question, you can ask. Then,
Mhm.
so why the public space? Like why I'm working, and why the public, particularly public space, and in South Asian. So look, I call myself as a as a visual artist, and primarily I'm working in a very colonialistic country where it was the part of the colonial, and it is still the post-colonial hangover is with us. And the whole uh, the the politics of the caste and class is very strong in this all South Asian country, especially in India, and the Bangladesh and Nepal also, and also in Pakistan. So for us, might be it is not privileged to work in a public space, and it is also it is a conceptual approach, obviously, but the primarily we don't have any system as this, the because we don't have any funding, we don't have such institutions or gallery or museum or any sort of institutions who are focusing on the performance art. Now it is one you can say, or two platform, which is also artist initiated platform, where artist founded that space for the performance art. And one I can say the Morni Hill Binale, sorry, Morni Hill Binale, and second is Khoj, and third is HHR, which is in Goa, and fourth is in Sri Lanka. We can definitely call Tirtha. performance platform. They are all the founders are the performance artists, very important performance artists. So this idea is not just a kind of, the we have a lot of gallery and opportunity we are getting, but it comes from the site of protest. When we go to the site and our body react that situation, and unique way to protesting. So I wanted to bring one context. In 2016, before this farmer movement, the farmer from south, they come up with this, the skull of their relative who died, who did the suicide, and they come up with this skull in front of parliament, and they were eating the rat, and with the skull, carrying the skull of their relative. So think this, they are farmer, they are not artist, but they wanted to say their the expression, they wanted to express something very very related to their heart, and the life which is their struggling. And therefore the public space, they don't found any platform to go and speak, make the the some announcement, but they find the space, they wanted to speak with the larger audience, and also the to the politician or any kind of so the public space become the one of the major area where we can see the happening is keep moving, and the liveliness is there.
You can speak out, the public space.
Yeah.
And also the farmers. And I do slowly get to learn more and more about India, and also how different groups of people are protesting, and that is something that happens a lot. I see, I've been reading, and I think that's an interesting thing, and it's also an interesting connection with performance and performance in public space, that there is a certain connection, although maybe there's a little bit of a different let's say goal, but it's really time, unfortunately, and I think there's many more things to talk about, and I know you have a lot of work, but at least the viewers have had chance to get to know a bit of your work, and if they want to know more, they always can find more about you and what you do. So hereby Ajay, I want to thank you very much for being our guest and sharing your interesting work. And by here, I also want to let's say that next week there will be another artist focus again, and that will be Corin a little will be in conversation with John G. Boumé. And so that will be the 29th and the same time. So I'm so excused. This is not, sorry, yeah, it is actually not with Corin Little, but it's with Bo Coleman in conversation. So I hope you can tune in again. You're very welcome then again. And for everybody who was watching and listening, have a nice day, a good night, or maybe a good morning, wherever you are. And thank you very much. Thank you, Ajay.
Thank you. Thank you, Corinne, also for being with
and thank
us.
You. Yeah.
And thank you.
Okay. Goodbye, everybody.